Chapter 9: Fueling the Human Body for Performance, Longevity, and Beauty by Dr. Adam Miller. Proper inner guiding principles guard our dreams, guide our decisions, and reduce the age-accelerating effects of stress. Stress is one of the top killers of the 21st century, and to manage it well, you have to consider everything from how you spend your dollars to what time you eat your dinner. Mounting evidence suggests that cortisol, our stress hormone, when imbalanced, is a cutting force that breaks down the body. One key component of a stress management program is proper nutrition. With the advent of genomics and nutrigenomics, we understand like never before that life factors such as stress and diet affect each woman and each man differently. But there are some concepts that every person must keep in mind as she structures her nutrition for a life of vitality, productivity, and influence. Strategy building for optimal nutrition begins quite simply with how you define food. Take a minute and, in the margin, write down your current definition of food. Once you have done that, write down how you think your spouse, your kids, your parents, people who influence you, would define food. If you wrote something like, "Food is the fuel that runs my body," you are not alone. Most of my patients answer in the same manner. There is a reason why we see food in this way. In 2010, the world crossed the 1 billion mark for the number of automobiles on this planet. We are associating with automobiles like never before. Do you need to put the brakes on and recharge your battery? Are you running on empty? I think you get the picture. Is it any wonder why we treat fueling our body in the same way we treat fueling our cars? All across the developed world, we can now literally feed both our autos and our bodies at the same quick stop stations. And while food and petrol are both energy producing elements, that is where most of the similarities between your petrol pump and your dinner table end. It is the all-important process of digestion that makes your body a more complicated and a more miraculous machine than your BMW. Better digestion of any food will reduce inflammation and increase nutrient absorption, both of which slow the aging process. So we want to focus on how you can improve your digestion. Believe it or not, digestion begins in a healthy individual before she ever puts the first bite of food in her mouth. Think about your favorite dish. Imagine the smell, the texture, the warmth, the spices, the first spoonful going into your mouth and onto your tongue. If you are having a mouth-watering experience right now, then good on you, as the Aussies say. You need to do more of this. The saliva being produced in your mouth has powerful components to kill off bacteria and break down each bite into tiny absorbable bits and pieces. But few working people slow down enough to allow the proper release of saliva and its complementary gastric juices before a meal. We rush into our meal times like we rush into the petrol station. The tank opens, we slam the food in as fast as the pump can deliver it. The tank closes, and we zoom back into traffic, continuing our days and our nights, expecting our body to deliver a high level of performance. It is clear to most of us that this is not the healthiest way to eat, but making lasting change is difficult. Unfortunately, there is very little I can do to change your busy schedule, but there are a few simple tips that you can implement tomorrow to improve your digestion and reduce damaging inflammation. Let's get under the hood of this issue now. Everywhere you look, there seems to be a celebrity chef promoting a special way to prepare a meal. Yet little attention is given to preparing our body to receive that meal. I teach my patients to focus on both with a breathe, imagine, chew, or what I call a BIC strategy. It begins with a simple breathing exercise. Approximately 8 minutes before their scheduled eating time, I have them take 8 deep breaths and then count to 8 in their mind as they exhale slowly. Consider it the 8 before you ate strategy. Then, as they are walking or driving to their meal, I ask them to imagine their favorite savory foods to stimulate that digestive juices in the mouth and in the stomach. Talking about food in detail, the texture, smell, flavors, helps facilitate this process. Remember that everyone loves to eat, and talking about food can be a nice icebreaker for your business luncheons. Lastly, I instruct my patients to chew their food once for every tooth in their mouth. For many healthy adults, this means 28 chews per bite, which takes me approximately 12 seconds to complete. Make a habit of putting your fork or chopsticks down on the plate in between your bites. This simple adjustment will slow your eating rhythm and give you more time to chew. I know many Asian cities are tight on space in the lunchrooms, but the BIC strategy for better digestion works best if you are sitting down. So, whenever possible, avoid standing to eat your food. These recommendations may sound too simple to make a real difference in your health. But like many lifestyle interventions, these are easy and they really work. Now that you are empowered with some tools to improve your digestion, reduce inflammation, and slow aging, let's focus on choosing fuel for your body. The decision to feed your body has several components. We have to consider when to eat, how much to eat, and the availability and type of food before we open our mouth to nutrition. Unlike your Toyota, there are real benefits to running your body on empty for short periods. In other words, moderate doses of hunger are good for you. There is a growing body of evidence supporting intermittent fasting. And I believe intermittent fasting is advisable both for those looking to lose weight and those trying to maintain weight. In short, intermittent fasting demands that you go without eating for at least 12 hours each day. An ideal schedule would be to wake up at 6 a.m., have your breakfast at 6:30 or 7 a.m., and your last bite of food before 6 p.m. If you want to supercharge this plan and get the maximum fat-burning effect, you can exercise in the morning on an empty stomach and postpone your first bite of the day until after your morning workout. I would be remiss in not mentioning sleep at this juncture. The importance of sleep and its impact on your body composition and your overall health cannot be overstated. Intermittent fasting's fat-burning effect will work best if you get your beauty sleep. I recommend getting to bed by 10 p.m. and waking up at 6 a.m. Let's now turn our attention from when you eat to how much you should eat. Think about what happens if you overfill the gas tank of your car. The excess fuel is spit back out onto the pavement, the side of your car, and potentially onto your fancy work clothes. This can be a very expensive mistake, and therefore we are careful, usually, to stop the fueling process just before the tank hits the full mark. I have often thought that we would be better off if our stomachs worked in a similar fashion to our gas tanks. Instead, God gifted us with a stomach that, when healthy, can distend 100-fold from a resting volume of 30 milliliters to approximately 3 liters in an adult patient. It is simply too easy for us to overeat. As a general rule, I would recommend that you limit your meal to 2 fist-sized portions on your plate or in your bowl. This will help improve your digestion, reduce afternoon sleepiness, and keep your belly flat. Your car and your body both run best when given the right type of fuel. If you have a car built for unleaded gas, you better not feed it diesel fuel. And if you are intolerant of gluten and dairy products, you will have a hard time motoring through your day if you choose to pump in some white bread and ice cream. Although convenience and emotion often dictate many of the bad food choices women make, the destructive impact of putting the wrong fuel in your body and your car remains the same: breakdown. These decisions are based not only on convenience but economics. If it were legal, for example, I would much prefer to fill my Honda's gas tank only in Johor Bahru. But other factors mandate that I buy more expensive petrol from the Singapore stations before I commute back to JB. This is the law of the land. Keep in mind that respecting the laws of your body's physiology often requires inconvenient and sometimes more expensive options. My automobile requires that I only use premium grade fuel. Though I have been tempted during a rush to pump in a cheaper option, it's not something I have ever done, nor will I. My car is not nearly as forgiving as my body when I give it bad food. Again, it seems that many of my patients would be better off if their body was more like their car in this regard as well. If your body would literally shut down and stop moving when we put in a preservative-loaded, highly processed meal, I am certain we would be less likely to consume bad food. But God has graciously built tremendous powers of tolerance into our body. And it takes some discipline on your part to build a new paradigm for your eating habits. The fact is that your body is better off going hungry than having you feed it bad fuel. You may want to write the following statement down and tape it to your desk at work and perhaps the dashboard in your car. A bit of hunger is healthy. A bit of bad food is toxic. We have now come to the issue of choosing the right food. You have learned to prepare your body for a meal, and you have learned when, how, and how much food to eat. Now, with the waiter standing before you, it is time to implement a strategy for choosing your best fuel. This topic is, unfortunately, the starting point for most diet plans. And I have intentionally placed this subject at the end of this section for good reason. In this age of information, there are countless sources in print, in video, and in audio throughout your world that will attempt to make a junior nutritionist out of you. We don't have nearly the space in this book to cover the entire breadth of nutrition. And the good news is that you don't need that. What you need is a simplified strategy for proper food selection that guarantees your body will receive all the nutrients it needs each day. I am going to give you my guidelines now, and you may be surprised by the first nutrient on the list. You are what you eat, and you should eat what you are. Do you know what makes up the incredible form that we call the human body? Our Creator is an artist who celebrates order. Water covers roughly 60% of our planet, and it is not by chance that our bodies reflect this global composition. You are indeed mostly water, and maintaining your water balance is your first nutritional priority. Water is nutrient number one, and in total starvation situations, it is the lack of water that will kill an individual first. I asked my brother, Dr. Todd Miller, what would happen if the planet suddenly became dehydrated. He went on to describe a state of pervasive disease and death among animals and eventual war among nations. Interestingly, a similar phenomenon happens in your body when you lack water. We have long known that most cases of common flu can be prevented with proper hydration. Think in terms of a grape and a raisin. You want your cells and the skin of your face to have a smooth, plump, well-toned state like that of a ripe grape. When you get dehydrated, your cells shrivel up like a raisin, making it very difficult for the mitochondrial and DNA machinery inside the cells to run smoothly. And yes, the skin of your face will look more wrinkled as one of several undesired effects of dehydration. Remember, you are what you eat and drink, and you should eat and drink what you are. Since you are mostly water, then, you best take in clean water every day. Make it a goal to consume at least 10 8-ounce glasses of water each day if you are a woman. Try to drink 2 of those glasses as soon as you wake up and 1 glass before each meal. I recommend distilled water only during physician-guided detoxification programs and for nightly face washing. One of the myriad varieties of purified spring water will serve you well for daily consumption. You may have heard it said that water works better in our bodies to maintain hydration if it contains electrolytes. These electrolytes are typically minerals like magnesium and calcium and phosphorus and potassium and sodium. One of their many critical functions is to help hold water in the body and to keep it from being lost in the urine or through the breathing airways. For this reason, minerals are the number 2 nutrient in my program, and without them, you are destined for a raisin-type existence. The oceans that blanket the earth are perpetually leaching minerals from the rocks lining the shores and the ocean floors. In a perfect world, we would drink from natural sources and get most, if not all, the minerals we need. But many of our local water sources are now contaminated with microorganisms, prescription drugs, and heavy metal toxins. Therefore, I recommend filtered water and a good broad-spectrum mineral supplement each day. The problem with most electrolyte drinks, by the way, is that they contain far too much age-accelerating sugar. These are flavored creations that can be quite refreshing, but I highly discourage the use of these types of drinks. Minerals by themselves, on the other hand, are crucial for a fine operating machine, you. The remaining composition of your body gives some important guidance for our final look at optimal food selection. A combination of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats in a ratio of 40 to 30 to 30 is what you are made of and what your goal should be for a balanced meal. Remember that 2 fist-sized portions represent the total amount of food you want to consume at any one sitting, and out of that you are allowed up to 40% carbohydrates. The kind of carbohydrate you select is very important. Make sure you are only taking complex carbohydrates like those found in fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and brown rice. And remember to make sure that your carbohydrate sources have plenty of fiber to help balance your blood sugar, improve digestion, and reduce cholesterol. The average adult needs at least 30 grams of fiber each day, and she can get much of that without a thought if she is taking in adequate fruits and vegetables. The number one thing you can do tomorrow to slow your aging is to reduce your sugar intake. Every time you take in sugar, imagine that it is gasoline being poured on a fire inside of you, causing some cells to malfunction from inflammation and others to get sticky in an age-promoting process called caramelization. Your cells, when fed sugar, literally turn into caramel. The 30% fraction of your meal that is meant to come from protein can include moderate amounts of red meat, free-range chicken, wild-caught seafood, tofu, nuts, brown rice, and high-quality powdered or bar supplements as necessary. If you are doing intense exercise regularly, you may consider increasing your protein intake from 1 gram per kilogram of body weight to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. Talk to your physician, though, before experimenting with aggressive dietary changes. Compared to a decade ago, we now more fully appreciate the critical role of healthy fats in maintaining nerve and brain function, reducing inflammation, and protecting the heart. It is also now widely understood that sugar, rather than fat, is the key dietary force promoting obesity. The 30% allowance for fats should come from sources such as olive oil, avocado, wild salmon, sardines, and walnuts. As food labels become more sophisticated and bans on saturated fats spread, you will find it easier to reach for healthy, polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats at the grocer or restaurant of your choice. The question that I am asked most regarding nutrition is what supplement to take. And as you probably guessed, I rarely answer that question without understanding a patient's eating habits first. The supplement debate is driven by a harsh reality. Vitamins, essential amino acids, and minerals are critical to health, and yet they are relatively scarce in modern food sources. I join the legions of doctors who believe that one should attempt to get most of their nutrients from whole foods before resorting to supplements. If you are eating a rainbow, as I like to say, you may require no supplementation at all. That is, if you are getting 4 servings of fruits and 6 servings of vegetables each day, with a 40 to 30 to 30 carbohydrate, protein, fat diet, then you are probably getting all that you need to promote healthy aging in your body. Since this type of diet is impractical for the majority of patients, we end up recommending a high-potency daily supplement that is rich in vitamins, minerals, and essential amino acids. Whether the vitamin supplement is in pill or powder or liquid form makes little difference to me as a doctor. What does matter is the quality of the ingredients and how easily the nutrients are absorbed from your small intestine. We assume that the average working adult has a GI tract in a state of stress and inflammation, and the last thing I want to do is give her supplements that are difficult to digest and absorb. The 4 most common deficiencies seen in my practice are water, vitamin D, magnesium, and omega-3 fatty acids. For more information about selecting proper supplements, you can contact me at www.dradammiller.com. While it was Aristotle during ancient times that contributed to our perspective on aging, it was Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, who revolutionized the world's perception of food. Let food be thy medicine was his recorded recommendation from around 400 BC. He irritated the rulers of ancient Greece who wanted to uphold the notion that all disease was caused by unhappy gods. Instead, Hippocrates was turning responsibility for one's health away from enigmatic realms and towards the individual. The complicated body was one of Hippocrates' finest contributions to medicine, and ironically, it was written during a 20-year prison sentence that he served for his radical beliefs. I wonder if he was tempted to call it the complicated mind, given that seemingly illogical punishment levied against him and his appreciation of the mind's role in forming health-promoting habits. We are still learning to take responsibility for our health. But make no mistake or excuse about it. The decisions we make, whether we treat food like medicine or we indulge in poor food choices as a band-aid for stress, directly impact the performance of our body and our rate of aging. It is my sincere hope that the perspective shared in this chapter and the simple strategies suggested here will help empower you towards better self-control and many years of healthy, beautiful living.